Well, you listen to 96.3 Buzz FM. Just glide. Yeah, and go far to go on 96.3 Buzz FM. It's 23 minutes past 11. Good to have your company. And today, as I mentioned to you, we have a special guest joining us in the studio. I'm referring to Mr Clément Martinez. He's been in the country for since 1970s up until now. So it's a bit of a history for him and for this country. So first, I'll welcome Mr Martinez. Good morning and welcome to 96.3 Buzz FM.
Good morning.
Now, Mr Martinez, tell us more. Before coming over to Vanuatu, New Hebrides then, you traveled the world. You went to England and then out from Europe. At a tender age of 18 years old, you went through your military service.
That's right.
But then you decided to adventure more into the Pacific, and you landed in Tahiti.
That's right.
Tell us more about your life with your siblings, your parents back then, and then what made you want to travel to other countries.
In fact, it was my mentor I had out of school that went to Tahiti as their hotel manager, and he asked me to join him to work with him. So I went to Tahiti to work with that manager, and where I worked 5 years. And in this hotel, I had a customer, Mr Pierino, who was going and forth France to New Hebrides through Tahiti, because he was building a hotel, which was Hotel Le Lagon. Mm-hmm. And at the end of my 5 years in Tahiti, in my hotel I was working with, I changed of hotel and I went to the competition in Tahiti. And funny how Mr. Eno also went to the new hotel. And when he saw me, he said, "Clément, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I left the town and now I'm working here." "I told you I had a hotel in New Hebrides. I told you, why didn't you tell me?" I said, "Well, I forgot, anyway." He said, "Well, I pay you a ticket, you come and have a look. If you like it, you stay. If you don't, but you come back, you won't owe me anything." Well, you can't be more royalist than a king. So I came here. And when I came here, I realized, because as Tahiti was my first overseas post, I realized that I did not like Tahiti.
Why is that?
I felt the Tahitians racist, feeling that I didn't feel here.
Wow. And
when I realized that, I said, that's the place I want to stay. Now, 50 years later, the same comment remains. As simple as this.
Mm. So when you first come to the Pacific, what was your first impression? And landed in New Hebrides at the time as well?
Well, when I went to Tahiti, I thought Tahiti was happiness, a flower, ukulele, Tahitian girl, vahines, and so forth. I couldn't make any comparison because I didn't know what was happening elsewhere. Mm. That's why I said I couldn't compare with another life. That's the way it happens. Mm.
And then when you landed on New Hebrides, which is Vanuatu now, yes. What was your first impression?
Well, the first impression was that the Melanesians were pretty rough at that time, in the manner, in the clothing, in the hairstyle, looking savages. To finally discover that mask of savage, if I may say, it was not antipathy, but it was a shyness. Mm. But as soon as I realized that, that's why I said that's the place I like to stay. Mm. Then I said to Mr. Eno, I will come and work for you. Mm. Then in 1972, he sold the hotel to the Japanese, released me from the ties of my contract, and that's when I started Lhoustalet in 72.
So when you started off the French restaurant, Lhoustalet is a French restaurant with
yes.
The French dishes there, la cuisine française. Yeah. And now, were you the first French restaurant at the time?
It was, but it started with someone who built it. It was called La Grille d'Égout. D'égout, D-E-S, G-O-U-T-S. Mm. But in French, d'égout, it means the gutter as well. So I don't think it was an appropriate word for a restaurant.
And then why you rename it to Lhoustalet? And what is Lhoustalet?
Lhoustalet means home farm, a little one. Lhoustalet in south of France, it's a home farm, and Lhoustalet is a diminutive, so it's a little one.
Now, when you came out from France, the southern part of France, come to a tropical country. Now, what was the weather treated you? And you mentioned the people already, but the atmosphere itself.
Well, I was devoted to my job, really, 24 hours and 24 hours, 7 days a week. So I did not realize, practically. The only thing is, when I arrived, I was dreaming of coconut milk, cheeses, breadfruit. That was amazing. So when I arrived, I saw a Tahitian climbing a coconut tree. I said, "Can I have a coconut?" So he sent me one. We opened it, and there was water in it. So I thought, oh, maybe it's not ripe. Then another one. So he gave me another one. It was still water inside. So I said, maybe it's not the season. I thought it was milk inside. The little Frenchman who comes in the Pacific discovered the coconut milk.
So that's the first thing that you discover about the Pacific, is that the coconut milk and the coconut
it was just water.
Now,
it was a little bit of disillusion on your part, anyway.
So your 2 weeks landed you 50 years plus years in Vanuatu, and this year you're 81 years old.
Yes.
Because you were born back in the south of France, 1942.
That's right.
And now, when you left France coming over to Vanuatu, wasn't it a regret for you?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. This 50 years have passed just like a match. The strike of a match.
And
I can't believe it.
Now, what is the magnet that holds you back in Vanuatu for so long? Is there a magnet here in the country? What is so special about this country?
Well, probably first the passion of my work. That is a work I like. I meet people all the time, and that takes me alive every day. They're different. It makes you alive. The day passes, you don't even feel them. When I go to work, I don't have the feeling I'm going to work. I'm going to meet people.
Yeah.
So that makes it.
So Lhoustalet, a place to meet people, make friends, make connection.
Yes.
Mr Martinez, this year, 2023, marks your Golden Jubilee. 50 years of operation under the same owner.
Yes.
And
the same menu.
The same menu. So this must be unique in the world.
When I started at Hotel Le Lagon used doing the kitchen, the cooking like all international hotels, because at the time we have to purchase the goods from Australia to get sufficient volume for it, which could not be done here. But I realized that as tourists, they were expecting something special.
That's
not
right.
just the classic hotel food. And I thought that. And when one day I went to Santo with a friend, and on the way back, we had been took out of the plane in Malicolo. At the time, there was no resort, so we had to ask the charity to the mission for food or in housing. And I went in which was the Père Zerger. Le Père Zerger.
In Vau?
No.
Walarano?
No. Merci alors. I forgot the name, sorry.
Somewhere in Malekula.
Oh, yes.
In Sarmet?
No.
Norsoup?
No. Oh,
La Catoro?
Non plus. Oh.
Okay, somewhere around Malekula, and then?
Anyway, so we had food there, and they had Alsatian nuns working with the Père Zerger, and they were doing the cooking and the welfare of the mission, and they were doing plate like stuffed crab, claws of crab cooked in cream, a lot of dishes that I did just
local
discovered.
menu.
I thought that's what the tourists want, and that's what I did when I opened Lhoustalet.
Oh, so you're inspired by the dishes offered to you in somewhere at the Catholic mission in Malekula, either Walarano or Vau Catholic mission.
C'était où là, mince alors, calme.
That's okay. That's okay.
The mission of Père Serge.
But during the time you were introduced with La Roussette, the flying bat?
Not yet, no. I was introduced to other dishes except La Roussette. You know why?
La Roussette is the flying bat.
Because when I arrived in Tahiti, in Hotel Le Lagon, I make friend with a local planter. He said, "Oh, I visit you want to visit my plantation." So okay, all right. So he picked me up with his jeep, and we went somewhere at Devil's Point somewhere, and we went we drove in the bush, and he come with a big tree with something hanging there, and he took his rifle, boom, boom. He rifled 2 times, boom, boom. These big things fell down. There was huge flying fox. First time I discovered this, I didn't know what the hell it was. Anyway, he took back them about 4 or 5. He put back. We come back to the shed, to the house, and there was a half a drum, 200-liter drum of water on top of a fire, boiling.
Yeah.
He came. He took the flying fox and threw them right in the water. Bon. Then he said, "I'm going to show you my élevage of pig." So we took the jeep again. We drove about for half an hour into the bush again. We arrived at a place where it was clear, because at the time as well, we were carrying a full trailer of guts of bullock, because at the time there was no abattoir. The planter used to kill the bullock on the plantation. So all then we got there. We get to that clairière, and he go out. He push all the guts of the bullock. He had a full trailer, and comes out of the bush. Wild pig, boom! They're just eating there. That was son élevage. I couldn't believe that. Well,
And
anyway,
it was your first time as well to see that?
yes. So we came back to the house. So that's an hour later. Then he came back at the house, and he come to the place where the flying fox were boiling. He took it out, took the flying fox, put upside down. With a knife, he made an incision around the anus, pulled the intestine, and did this.
For you, it's disgusting.
My experience of flying fox was done. Now, this to say that when I started, I did everything but flying fox. Anyway, after a few times, all my friends say, "Clément, why you don't do the flying fox?" So I was not very. No, that should be because it's a local. Yeah. So finally, say, "Okay, I'll do flying fox." So I do flying fox. I was doing them like a rabbit. I peel them, I empty them, and everything.
And you did the same thing as well, sacking up the.
No. I did like we cook a rabbit.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And after a while, the same friend said, "But Clément," said, "You empty the flying fox?" "Of course, I empty the flying fox. What do you think?" I said, "No, you should empty it." And in fact, that rang a bell, because in France we do have little birds that they are not being emptied. For example, François Mitterrand, he liked ortolan. And ortolan, he eat it entire.
Wow.
Even more than this, they take their tablecloth around to have all the smell and eat the flying fox. And he was a péché mignon of François Mitterrand, for example, which is a...
Exotic.
So when I realized that they were not kidding, I tried to do the flying fox without empty them. And tourists were opening the flying fox. "Oh, nice stuffing." Because we have to say that the flying fox is a very clean animal. And also they don't eat the fruit. They chew the fruit, they swallow the juice, and they spit back the fiber. So what's inside is only juice.
That's right.
If they eat pawpaw, for example, everything which is inside is only pawpaw. And say, "Oh, nice stuffing. Ah, nice." I was a bit scared all the time, until one day I had an accident.
Like?
An accident. Customer opened the flying fox, and there was a fetus inside. I don't know if you've seen a fetus of flying fox, because the claws are at adult size.
Yeah.
So is the head, and but the body was too little. Frankenstein is nothing compared to this. So I
Like
said,
a monster in a monster.
From now on, I do empty the flying fox. That's it.
So that's the idea of bringing flying fox into your menu.
Yes.
So that's since 1973 up until now.
Yes.
And that's one of the main attraction in your restaurant when visitors, tourists come over, officials from a government,
Yes.
from dignitaries from different countries, when they come, they ask for the flying fox.
Yeah.
Is it just because of its unique serve from the restaurant Lhoustalet?
Because
Or is
a
for them to
curiosity.
discover?
No, well, it's a curiosity.
Oh, right.
They try about being curious. What the hell is that? Well, as simple as this.
But you cook that with French wine.
Yes, like a civet de lièvre, for example, which has nothing to do with the Melanesian way how to cook. First, in the Melanesian they burn it.
Yes.
Then even if they scratch the fur, the burnt fur, it smells the fur. The wings smells the burned rubber, and the whole thing is in the stone. The look is different. It cannot be served in a restaurant like that. It's not possible.
That's right. So you create your own method
Voilà.
of
Yeah.
cooking a flying fox,
Voilà.
modernizing it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's becoming an exotic dish at your restaurant.
Yes.
Now, tell us more. Why you keep that menu since 1973 up until now?
Because I cannot change it. People who come and come again, they always ask the same thing. And it has to be the same. It has to be exactly the same, actually. And even me, it's a fight up every day with my staff that they do the same every day. And every day I have to taste every items before it says, sometimes they change the way of doing things. Say, no, we don't change, we do the same thing. That's the main fight.
So, Mr. Martinez, are you still in the kitchen or are you
Yes,
supervising from your side?
Well, I'm supervising, but I'm in the kitchen as well.
Wow.
Yes.
And l'escargot is part of your menu as well.
Yeah.
Now, what is the main dish that people always come back?
For
it.
escargot, for example, which are local. Then mainly lobster. What else? Prawns. They are the main dishes, really. And the fillet and the steak. The fillet steak, which is known as being very nice and tender. Yes.
What you reckon about Vanuatu's own beef, own meat served in your restaurant?
It is, if it is aged properly, it's the best meat in the world. Unfortunately, at the moment, the business is such that straight from the abattoir, it goes on the butchery, and they serve the meat too fresh. And when the meat is fresh, it's tough. Voilà. So it has to be aged.
Yeah.
And I do age my meat properly, yes.
At your restaurant?
And I have a sufficient turnout, so I have always some ready to eat, some with being aged, and it comes and voila.
Now, 50 years in Vanuatu, as the same owner, same menu for 50 years. Now, there's a big celebrations that you are hosting this week, Friday and Saturday, and it's going to be a yearly celebration. You've been preparing this Golden Jubilee, 50 years of operation in Vanuatu for some years now. Now,
which has been stopped by the COVID for 2.5 years, unfortunately.
That's right. Yeah. So, in your life in the restaurant, you saw ups and downs, challenges that you face.
Yes.
But what make you drive you that you keep on doing what you like, what you are doing in the country?
I will respond by another explanation. When we had the Cyclone Uma, the 7th February 87, I've been ruined overnight. All my businesses were wrecked, finished. It was a total wreck. And I was looking at the wreckage, and I thought, I wasn't depressed, funny how. I was not depressed, because I thought, oh, that's just an act of God. I did it, it's just a loss of money. I did it once, I can do it again. I was 40 years later. I was 40 years younger, I mean. Of course, now if it happens now, I would think differently. So it took me 10 years to struggle to make one business out of the 4 I had. Because at the time I had Lhoustalet, Privé Club, Solota Club, and Johanna Club, all together at the same time. But it will be 10 years to come back into my feet, yes. Voilà.
But the spirit of you getting into the foreplant of your business is always there.
Yes.
Even though challenges, but you always get up
Yes.
and you continue. Now, with this 50 years of anniversary in Vanuatu, where do you see you next in 10 years' time? You're 81 years old now. Are you still going to manage your restaurant, or the menu will be still the same, or who will be taking up the reign?
You see, when you are 30, 40, 50, even 60, the future is there. You can look at the sky, blue sky, it's all open and deep. Whatever your wealth, it doesn't matter. But if you can do it, it's there. You can just dig into it. When you are 80, I gave myself a lifespan of 10 years. Because I can see now I'm 81, a lot of my friends have disappeared. So I gave myself a lifespan of 10 years. That's going to bring me to 90. This year will be 9 left, 9 years left. And then when I see how quick the last 20 years have passed, and I only have 9 years left, it's tomorrow. So it's frustrating to realize that I won't have the time to do what I would like to do. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, but the passion has to pass on. Is there any idea already who will be taking up your reign?
Maybe you have l'espoir that my kids will take over. But this has to be done.
But you are so proud, even though you're far away from France, but bringing the French culture, the French cuisine in this country and make it happen, and you own it, and Vanuatu own it as its own dish. Are you proud of that?
I don't say that I'm proud of that. It's just a matter of fact. It's there. I'm trying to do the best thing the way I think is the best. And I don't know how to respond to that question, really.
But you do have very positive feedback from anyone that enter your restaurant.
Yes.
So you must be a proud owner, a proud chef, a proud host to those who have been eating in your restaurant for so many years. Now, talk about an important history that your restaurant has played prior to independence of this country, which is where some people that were drafting the national Mama Law of Vanuatu, the constitution of Vanuatu, the idea of getting to your place. How does it happen? How did it happen at the time? Is it they approach you, they come and knock on your door, wake you up, or they were already there?
No, not at all. That's just a matter of coincidence. For example, in September 79, where the Constitutional Committee were going to deliver the draft of the Constitution, I remember the last day that they had to deliver, because a week later the two ministers of tutelle, they were going to ratify that Constitution. We were waiting, like, you know, when you wait the election of a pope, you wait that the white smoke comes.
Yes.
And I remember that day, the members, they debate all day, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they were still there. I closed Lhoustalet, it was 3 o'clock when I closed it, and I went to the condominium to see what was happening. I went there, and there was nobody there, actually. There was nobody there outside, but you could hear, you know, when you have 60 people talking in one room, you hear even outside the grumble.
Rumbling, yes.
And so I knew they were there, and then suddenly they closed, we can see the chair wrecking and things going out. And came out Vincent Boulécon first. When he saw me, he said, "Hey, Clément, tu nous fais la soupe à l'oignon?" Say, okay, yes. And just come Walter Linney behind. He said, "Can you do it for all of us?" I said, "Yes." Okay, so I jump into my car, go back to Lhoustalet, and I start to make the onion soup. And they all came in at 4 o'clock in the morning, all of them. And then suddenly something magic happened. when they realized that they could achieve something together when they were enemies before. Before the francophone, the anglophone,
That's right.
the religious, the customs, it was a mess. Even during the debate, they were fighting to each other all the time during 1 year to do that constitution. And that was an incredible story. And when I decided to make the first anniversary, the 20th anniversary, I said, what am I going to do? Am I going to invite 100 people? But if I invite 100 people, there will be 200 people going to make a long face because they're not being invited because they are too small. I couldn't do it. I said, no, I'll make a cocktail party. I'll make 200 people. And then if I invite 200, there will be another extra 200 because the more you open the gap, the more the gap's open.
That's
you see?
right.
And then so I remember that night, they were the member of the constitution. They were about 40. So I thought they are 40 plus their wife, that makes 80 plus an extra 20 incontournable that you have to invite. So that comes into what the capacity I could cater for. So I did when I went to the parliament to ask the list of the constitution, the member of the constitution. At the time they didn't have it. So I went to the prime minister. They didn't have it either. Said, no, go look the archive. I went to the archive. They were not. So I went back to Vincent. I said, Vincent, look, I tried to find the list of the members of the constitution committee. We cannot find it. He said, look, I remember I did write the name of everybody on a working pad, and he gave me that list so I could make the invitation.
So he kept it for that long?
Yes.
Wow.
And I was telling that story to Mr. Berlanga, which was the
Nicolas
Berlanga.
European Union ambassador to Vanuatu.
Yes, he was the correspondent of European Union. They said. And he was keen on this story, you see. And one day he went to Madrid to a convention of all the members of the European Union on a convention day in Madrid. When he came back to see me. He said, "You know what happened?" I said, "What?" He said, during a coffee break, an Englishman comes to me. He said, "You are posted in Vanuatu." I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, I used to work in New Belize before independence." I said, "What were you doing?" He said, "I was the secretary of the Constitutional Committee." I said, "What?" He said, "Where are all the minutes? Where all the names?" He said, "No, they're all with me." "How come they are with you?" "No, when I left, nobody asked me anything, so I took all my files with me back to England." He said, can you give it to me?" He said, "Yes." So he bring back the original of the minutes. Wow. He made a book, and he organized a dinner at Lhoustalet, where he presented the book of the original of the minutes of the Constitution Committee to the president and at that time.
So this time it's historical moment.
Oh, yes.
Not only in Vanuatu, but you have to go as far as in Europe to discover that and bring it back to the
30 years
Vanuatu.
later.
Yeah.
30 years later.
Yeah. And during the time, it's like not only your history, but the history of Vanuatu and the history of the constitution itself, that you are bringing back something that belongs to this country. Now, when all these things happened with La Soupe à l'Oignon, that's one of the famous French soup.
Yes.
But I remember that some couple of years after, that soup was rebaptized, I think.
Oh, that's the thinking of Calcott Matas. He said we shouldn't call this French onion soup. We should call it the Constitution soup.
So is the name?
Yes.
Are you adopting that name?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
I said the onion soup.
So each time that anyone comes into your restaurant, always think of the French onion is one of the main soup that they order, just to remind them of the history of this country.
Oh yes, quite a lot. Yes.
Now that you're organizing your Golden Jubilee this coming Friday and also Saturday and coming weeks and months, I understand that some government officials will be attending this invitation. So is it a self-invitation to the people invited?
In fact, I couldn't make a one-day celebration because I'm too small anyway. So I decided to select a few highlights I had during these 50 years. And one of the best highlights highlight was that night of when they come to celebrate the draft of the Constitution. So I've decided to invite all the members of the Constitution Committee, plus the dignitaires and the government and so forth. So that's what I did, and we're going to be there on Friday night.
So how many people are you expecting in this celebration this coming Friday?
Less than 100 because of my capacity.
That's right.
Yes.
And now, when you look back, all these past years up until now, what do you want for the people of Vanuatu or any visitors coming from overseas to see and to reflect on your journey from the past up until now? Like your life in the restaurant. Is it something that people should learn from you? Or should people in Vanuatu should learn more about the history that it's started off in your restaurant? How you take that back to the people?
Oh, yes. Yeah, but when they ask questions, then I tell them that story, for example, and they love it. They love it. And then I have to say I have nothing to do with it. It's just a matter of coincidence that I was there at the right moment, at the right time. Well, that's it.
Now, what do you want to see for this government to assist or to cater for restaurants like yours that has been there for 50 years with one owner, with one menu up until now? You've seen different government.
Yes,
in your
course,
life
yes,
in
yes.
Vanuatu.
Yeah, of course, yes.
What do you want to see in Vanuatu in the long run for this country?
No, the way it goes, actually, it's good.
What is your message to the people of Vanuatu?
Oh la la, I'm not in position to send a message to the country. Believe me. I'm just doing my work humbly, the best I can, and that's it. Voilà.
So you do have regulars, restaurant eaters, people that always come over to your restaurant. So
yes.
what you can tell them?
I'm speechless. As I answer the question they asked me, simply as this, the way I know.
So in 5 words, how you describe your work, your restaurant in Vanuatu?
Constitue, comment on dit? I would say, I've lost the word. Sorry, I've lost the word now.
That's okay. That's okay.
Comment on appelle ça là?
You can say that in French.
Yeah, even in French. C'est la consistance.
Ah, the
dans l'effort et dans le travail.
Yes.
Voilà, c'est toujours pareil. C'est toujours
the consistency
voilà,
of your work.
Yes.
And your food, your dishes to the consumers.
Because when they come, they know what they're going to have. And that's why I am so eager to check that my staff does same thing every day, the same. But that's the answer.
96.3 Buzz FM wishing you, and the Daily Post wishing you the best 50th anniversary, the Golden Jubilee, for your service here in Vanuatu, for your restaurant that you established back in 1973 up until now. And we wish you all the best again in the coming years to provide the beautiful combination, fusion of the French dishes with the Vanuatu local ingredients to consumers in Vanuatu and abroad that visitors are coming over to Vanuatu. Mr Clément Martinez, again, thank you very much joining 96.3 Buzz FM and wishing you the happiest 50th anniversary, the Golden Jubilee.
But the last word would be that you asked me in the first place what I see in the future. Well, now we are at the edge of the end of the 50 years lease from the properties. I have already signed an extension of 25 years. I'll be dead anyway, but never mind, that will be for my kids.
Right. Now, just before we go, you've got a family with 9 Pekinese in Vanuatu.
Yes.
and you believe that one of them will definitely come and
I hope so.
follow your footsteps.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Clément Martinez, again, thank you very much and happy Golden Jubilee.
Merci beaucoup.
You're tuning into Lunch with Kizzy on Buzz 96.3 FM. Lunch with Kizzy, proudly brought to you by the Vanuatu National Provident Fund. Save today, enjoy tomorrow.